Oh, it's not a cut. That's a slice.
Now this is a quack hook.
Oh,
Short
wow.
and into the right rough, headed to the trees.
Oh my God, it's a shank. He decided to re-tee. That's a shank. Oh man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Two-Way Miss podcast. Thank you very much for joining us whenever you might be. As always, I am one of the hosts of your show, Mr. Regz, and I am joined, as always, by the good buddy Banksy. Banksy, long time no see, pal. Hope Thanksgiving was good. We were just talking about you getting into the kid coaching realm, which will be we do a whole nother podcast on that, I'm sure. But good to see you. Good to talk to you again, buddy. How you been?
Yes, sir. Doing well. Doing well. Sneaking some golf in. That's for sure. Taking advantage of these mild days.
You had a fun little story about the end of one of your most recent rounds. We got to talk about that on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, what a mess. It's just golf, man. It's just golf.
You got to tell the people what happened.
All right, so we playing these little matches at my home course, and you get paired up with a team, randomly, and you throw a few bucks in and you play, and obviously low scores with a couple different categories. I don't know, they all figure out the score, and I just play. I'm there to relax and play, not keep track of scores and whatnot. But anyway, coming down 14, I am 6 over with 12 pars and 2 triple bogeys. Yeah.
What did you triple? I forgot to ask you which holes you actually tripled.
I was dicking around in the trees on hole 5, and then hit it out of bounds on hole 9. So, just the normal stuff.
Yep, the normal stuff.
So coming down 14, so 15, birdie 15, birdie 16, birdie 17, and then hole out for eagle on 18 from like 85 yards out. Just stupid.
Just like, out of nowhere.
But here's the amazing part, and I don't even think I told you about this through text because it was so much. It had been so much to type. One of the guys that I was playing with was in a fairway bunker, probably 150 out, and he hit first. Okay, so he hit this shot out of the fairway bunker. It went in first.
What?
Like he eagled it first, right? So then I'm standing there, and he's on the other side of the fairway, and he yells over. He's like, "Hey, do you have any eagles yet today?" I said, "Well, I just birdied the last 4, but yeah, no eagles." And I tell you what, I hit a little flip wedge up there, and I'm watching this thing, and I look at him. It was almost like a Steph Curry 3 where he shoots it and turns around and stares at the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at him, and I'm smiling a little bit, and I'll tell you what, it hits, it rolls in, and you have that just like immediate rush where you want to just sprint over and do the whole like chest bump thing. And I'm like, as I'm sprinting towards this guy, I'm like, man, he's like 30 years older than me. I better reassess. So, I kind of veered left and just did the whole like, it wasn't as bad as the Spieth high five from the bunker.
Yeah.
But I don't think the interaction looked great.
It didn't look cool. Yeah.
If it was you, it would have been a full on.
I would have caught you.
Chest, but yeah, you would have caught me and spun me around.
That's right.
But it was crazy. Like I've never done that before with like the first guy knocking
nuts.
it in, and then me putting it in right on top of him. And when we got up to the green, our ball marks were like this far apart.
Crazy.
Right, and it just it was a neat it was
Yeah.
a neat it was a neat situation to be in, and it helped me stop bitching about my round too.
I can only imagine you on like 12
I didn't
being
have to
6 over.
I didn't have to I didn't have to piss and moan the rest of the day about how I played.
I'm sure your wife
Uh,
appreciated that.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. So
All right, well,
so yeah,
go ahead.
No, it was exciting. Won a few bucks. Of course, everybody else is pissed,
Yeah, right.
you know. But hey,
Hey,
what are you gonna do?
that's what you're out there for.
That's right, baby.
That's right. All right, man. Well, some stuff has been happening in the golf world. We kind of finished the season. We did a nice little wrap up pod. And then we've always held to this philosophy. We're not just going to talk about garbage golf tournaments just because they're going on. Like, nothing was happening. None of it was interesting. Like,
Not at all.
Liv didn't sign anybody. I know they've been announcing some golf courses here and there that they're going to play on. But like, who cares?
Yeah.
Nothing important happened. But as always, our Lord and Savior Tiger Woods comes back, into the golf world, and that sparks us to record another podcast because
Yeah.
if Tiger talks, we're going to talk about it.
And it's always when I'm in the car or listening to the podcasts and other PGA Tour radio or whatever, it's like when those guys are talking about random shit that has nothing to do with golf, you're like, man, it's a really
Right.
It's a really slow time,
Yep.
slow part of the season.
Yeah. All of them, all the ones I listen to are doing like their year in review, or another one just talked about like all the majors from 91 to 93. Like they went and did like a deep dive on majors back in the 90s. Like there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
So but now we got Tiger's event, the Hero World Challenge coming up. We have Tiger himself taking the microphone for another press conference, saying a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, pulling out of his own tournament, which sucks, but we're going to talk about why. But we figured it'd be a good time to jump back on the mics and get this thing rolling again for this new season. This is official. We'll call this officially when the two-way miss has stamped that this new golf season can now start.
I like it.
I think, yeah. So strap back in, everybody. Golf season's coming back. Gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about. We were hoping to have like 3 straight weeks of Tiger, actually playing to talk about, but let's hope we just have 2 weeks of it. We'll see how it goes though. But down in the Bahamas, Tiger, does a press conference. He's been holding this event. Man, seems like, I don't know how long it's been, but 5, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. Has it been even longer?
Overall, it's been like 15.
Okay.
It could be even longer. He said something about 99, 2000. It could be like 20 years, but then I also heard like 50. I would say between 15 and 20 years.
Okay, yeah.
But it didn't always used to be in the Bahamas. They
Right.
were in Orlando for a while, and now they've transitioned to the Bahamas. I think for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah,
6
maybe that's
years.
what I'm remembering. When they kind of switched
Yeah.
to the Bahamas, but an extremely limited field, invite only. It's essentially Tiger handpicks, the guys that he wants to come down for this thing. So it's always fun to see who he picks, if he kind of mixes it up, if he switches anybody in and out. He's got his core little crew. But a couple of new names on the list that we'll go over a little bit later. That'll be fun to see how they sort of play in this event. I mean, it's all top guys, right? There's no schlubs. It's good golf. It is kind of a hit and giggle, but they go pretty low, and
They do.
it's usually the first time we get to see Tiger since since the Open, because he usually takes everything else off. So that's what everyone was looking forward to. But unfortunately, I guess the first thing we can get to is that unfortunately he obviously withdrew from the tournament due to plantar fasciitis in his foot, and he described it in a very Tiger way, saying, "I can hit all the golf shots, I just can't walk." So,
Yeah.
there you go.
And he won't take a cart.
Right, he refuses to take a cart in a PGA Tour event. So I think that's a key distinction that I know we can get into. Sort of the conversation we were having before we started recording, but I think you brought it up pretty well right before we started. Like, you hear about NFL players getting this or NBA players, and they're just like, they're out forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they're just out for a little bit. You know, it just takes a week for this to go away. This seems to be one of those like really lingering things. And to add it to all the rest of the crap that's going on with his body,
Right.
like, it's not good.
And it is his right leg,
Right.
which is completely reconstructed.
Yeah.
So that compounds the effect of the,
Yeah,
of the
right.
plantar. And yeah, and it's one of those things that can come back that, once that's triggered, that you can feel that all the time, or
Yeah.
it can flare up randomly. And I've heard it's pretty darn painful.
Yeah. I mean, knock on wood, I haven't experienced it myself, but
Yeah.
like I said, when it takes down an NFL player, for weeks at a time, it's not something to mess around with. So I don't know. Obviously at the PNC, he'll be able to take a cart. And then what's the one after that he was going to do?
The match, the 12-hole match.
Yeah, the match. So obviously he'll be taking a cart for that.
It's,
and hopefully that allows him to play, because he'll just obviously have to get out, hit his shot, get back in. But I mean, it's not walking. Like, he's still gonna have to walk some places.
Yeah.
But he obviously can't walk 4 rounds of he can't walk 72 holes over the course of 4 days.
Yeah, and I think because of the carts, because of how much is involved, the match is going to be a huge moneymaker, PGA Tour promotion. He's going to play in that, and he's definitely going to play with Charlie.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see him these next 2 weeks, and then,
we didn't talk about this, but like, do we see him again this season?
So the only two tournaments that I could, so the Genesis in whatever, January or February, he that's another tournament that he hosts. That's at Riviera. If he can play, I'm sure he'll play in that. And then, you have the players in March, which is one of those top field, elite field tournaments. And then it's the Masters. So if he plays, it's going to be the Genesis and the players, and then Augusta. I don't think we'll see him any other time. And with the players being a month away from Augusta, is he going to do anything, in that March month to trigger any potential injuries to then get to Augusta?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm even questioning Augusta. Like, that wasn't an easy walk for him. This last year, like, we saw him out there trying to gut through that stuff. And if this is adding on top of it to the point that he can't, like, right now he can't walk, or he can't he can't walk enough to play in a golf tournament.
Right.
I don't know how something like this gets that much better by then.
Yeah. And you don't know how much pain he's actually in with the leg either.
Yeah.
You just don't know what that's like from a day-to-day situation.
Yeah.
Because he's very tight-lipped about it. Apparently, in the interview, he alluded to more procedures this past year on that leg, and I don't know if those were, changing out screws or some type of injections, or if they had to cut him again. I don't know, because he didn't get into it, but you just have no idea the condition fully have an understanding of what condition that leg is in. I
Right.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just none of it's good is the problem. Like if these, it's sort of, and I'm sure you could speak to this, like with the knee surgery and stuff. Like once something like that happens, like you compensate. So other things that weren't hurting before tend to pop up just because you can't walk the same way you used to. You're not putting the same amount of pressure in the same places that you used to. Maybe your foot's now leaning a different way that's causing something else to happen. And
Yeah.
I'm sure with all the stuff going on that happened to his leg, like he's not walking the same. He's not putting the
Right.
same pressure on all the same places that he has been for 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Um
And he calls it, it happened because as I was ramping up for this tournament. So
Yeah.
with Tiger too, it's like he said he did a lot of beach walking to try and strengthen the muscles, and it's like, did the doctors say, Tiger walk 1 mile, and knowing Tiger, did he try and go like 2 miles?
Yep.
And is he just pushing his these top athletes, these competitive guys, they just push, 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 and then eventually things start to break. But again, that's all he alluded to. I was ramping up for this
Yeah,
tournament,
right.
and then that's how it happened. So, were you doing more than you should have been doing, or is it truly just one of those side effects that popped up
Yeah. I think
due to everything
yeah.
else?
Bottom line for me, it doesn't make me feel good about seeing him again
Yeah.
outside of these tournaments that he can take a card in.
Yeah, I came away from the interview just kind of like, you just at some point you just have to start realizing that this is this is gonna be over
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Yeah.
And it's sad, it's sad because you see everybody looks great on the range. Physically he still seems in great shape. You see him out in the range, he's hitting shots and this and that, but then that gets multiplied by 100 when you're in an actual
Yeah.
golf tournament. It's
Right.
like he can't do it. He can't do it, and he described it as, you got to hope everything goes perfect and you catch lightning in a bottle,
Yeah.
and you get yourself in contention. So that's the chances of that
Yeah. Are not high.
are not high.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he
So
continued to talk about it, and obviously a lot of people asked him if he would request a cart from the PGA Tour to possibly play in, let's say, let's say play at the Genesis or play at the Players. And he answered quickly, and I'll quote him directly. I would never do that.
yeah,
He went on to say, I will never take a golf cart until it's sanctioned. It's sanctioned on the Champions Tour, and the PNC is part of that. As far as a regular event, no, I would never do that.
right.
Uh,
And that was all, that all went down. I mean, that went all the way to the Supreme Court 20 some years ago
yeah.
with Casey Martin.
Yep. A teammate of his at Stanford.
And yep, and he had a degenerative leg issue
Yep.
where he could not walk, and under the ADA, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor.
Mhm.
And if you have a medical, basically if you have a doctor's note, you can.
Yeah. I mean, Tiger
Now-
went on to say that he voted against it back then, even though Casey was literally a teammate of his in college.
Yeah,
Like, Tiger's
Yeah.
stance is that the walking, the sort of physical endurance is part of a golf tournament.
yeah,
That you have to be able to do that in order to win. You have to endure that. That's like the physical part of golf.
yeah.
Um,
And the bitch of it is, I went to the senior tour event this year, and there's a very very few, but there are a couple guys that take carts, and you know who's still walking and carrying the bag? The caddies.
yeah, right.
Like you
Who are
think you'd be
just
like,
as
hey,
old or older, right?
yeah, like hey, come on, go ahead, throw your clubs on the back. Well,
Oh, the caddy didn't get to throw the clubs in the cart?
no, the caddy's still walking down
That's
the
gotta be
fairway
wrong. That's
with
wrong.
the bag on his shoulder. Now maybe it was his choice. Maybe he wanted the
Yeah.
exercise, but yeah,
That's terrible.
I think it was Scott Verplank riding down the fairway in a cart.
That's terrible.
The caddies,
That's
the
awful.
the caddies
At least let him put the bag
carrying
in
the
there. I
bag.
get it if the caddy wants to walk the yardage off, Like
Yeah.
I get that. At least put the bag in the cart.
So
Those
that
tour bags
was
look fine when they're hanging out there.
yeah. So
So, I mean, look, I think we've all just sort of been waiting, not waiting for something else to happen, because I think that's not the right way to put it. We obviously weren't wishing for another injury or some setback to happen, but just given the sheer amount of stuff that has
Yeah.
happened to this man's body, it was inevitable that things like this were going to keep popping up. And we all wanted him, I think we all wanted last year to go better. We wanted him to look a little better than he
Yeah.
did. And I think last year, kind of was like a kick, like a slap to the face for a lot of people, a lot of Tiger fans who really wanted to see him kind of, all right, well, if he just plays the majors, then he's got all this time to recover and do all that. And it's like, that's not like recovery for this is like 8 months, like in
Yeah.
between walking a major championship. And that's not how it works. So I don't see him playing in all the majors. Like that guy's going to go walk a US Open course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And like you've been saying for a while is that he's got 3-4 more years till he turns 50 and he gets on the Champions Tour. And then like he even said it in his press conference, that's when a cart is allowed, and
Yeah.
we'll see what the man can do. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's all happening before any of us thought it would. But I think at this point, we should all hope it happens sooner. So we can
Yeah.
I think we'll see him a bunch if he can go play competitive golf and be able to take a cart and,
Well, you had that 2018, 2019, all the surgeries. It finally seemed like, the surgeries took
Yep.
the back was okay. Was playing some really good golf, like playing some great golf. Had a couple wins, obviously won the Masters, and then that fucking car crash.
I know.
Like, it's just
Someday will we get like an article about this, about what actually happened?
what actually no.
Will it ever happen?
No. The fact that and that's like even the police that are on scene and doing the press conference, because I went back and kind of rewatched all this after here in time, those guys are like, yeah, just we don't know what happened, just seems like an accident, it's a bad road, blah blah blah. Like, no, we're never going to know what happened. I mean, you can theorize what happened based on his past past accidents, but
And how he
no.
looked 2 days, like literally
Oh my
the
gosh.
day before
Oh.
that.
Dude, that interview was like,
Oh.
it's almost like that car crash made more sense after watching that.
Yeah, if he had
interview
just imagine if he had never done that
at
and then
the
the car crash
Genesis.
happened.
Where, I mean, he was lit up.
That's what I mean. Just imagine if that interview never happens. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden we're getting Tiger Woods in a car crash coming back from doing a video with Dwayne Wade. You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
the morning. Like you'd be like, what in the hell is
Right.
going on? But you see him that day, and then you're like, okay, something, it
Yep.
got as bad as it could.
And just reviewing the vehicle that he was in, that 100% saved his life. Like he was in a Genesis, luxury SUV that actually, has ridiculous safety features.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that thing was like a tank.
Yeah.
And I mean, just reading over some of the specs on that car, like that's the only thing that saved his life. Dude might have been like in multiple pieces.
Yeah, right.
If he wasn't in that vehicle.
Yeah. Just crazy.
Just crazy. I know. Man, we could talk about Tiger forever.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just I almost honestly now just play one major. Pick one each year. Doesn't always have to be Augusta.
Yeah.
But just pick one. And just ramp yourself up for that one time. If you can. Or not, right? But
Right.
he's not gonna do all four. He's not.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening.
And too, like that's another rabbit hole you could go down too. And you think about back to Ben Hogan. I know the injuries were different, but had significant and severe injuries to his leg. You go back 60 years ago to where medical treatment was for that kind of stuff. Like these athletes, like these guys are just, they're so good and so determined and yeah, it's amazing to see what they can do as their body's literally breaking down and all physical abilities are leaving their bodies, but yet they still say, I want to compete. I can do it. I can go out and play. I can hit every golf shot. I can this and that. But like, bro, like, but you can't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that when he's just standing on a range.
Oh, sure.
And he tells himself, I'm going to hit a 30-yard cut, to this pin that's at 120 or wherever it is. I have no doubt that Tiger Woods can pull that off.
Yeah.
But
on the range.
Right, but that's not
still.
a golf tournament. That's not a major championship.
Yeah. And I think that's where some of the fans and myself included need to start like understanding.
Yeah, right.
That
we've been in denial for a long time.
Your range session and your 9-hole course you have in your backyard is just not quite the same as a major championship on a 7,800-yard golf course.
Yeah. He's past the point where his talent can make up for all of it.
But having said that, man, if he gets in that senior tour, and even if he only plays the majors on that.
For that, like, I think all bets are off.
I mean,
if he can take a card around,
he could dominate.
Oh,
he could
absolutely.
Dominate. He could dominate.
Absolutely.
And the amount of and we talked about this before too. Could you imagine rolling into a senior event knowing Tiger is going to be that?
I know,
they're going to have to double security.
Yep.
They're going to have to double the ticket sales. They're going to have, that.
The first one that he plays in is going to be that whole first season is going to be nuts.
It's going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy. Yeah.
He might win everyone.
Yeah. And just imagine he comes out and you get like the old, comes out and wins this one by like 12 shots. So there's still hope.
Yep.
No matter how dark things look, we still got 4 years to hold on to that.
That's right.
That senior tour debut.
That's right. We'll keep holding on to that.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the interview. I mean, he talked a little bit about the OWGR. Like, that's not interesting to anybody.
Yeah.
Except for like psychos.
It was funny how he talked about. He said at one point he could have not played the entire season. He's talking about how the ranking system is kind of flawed, and he's like, there's a couple years where I wouldn't even have to play a tournament and I'd still be number one in the world.
Yeah, right.
And then and the same thing with the FedEx Cup. Everything evolves. He's like, He's like, I'm pretty sure in the first FedEx Cup, like, I wouldn't have had to shown up and I still would have won.
Yep.
It's like, you dog.
Yep.
The big cat.
Cool flex, Tiger. Well done.
Yeah. Club twirl.
Yeah, right. Let's see. The last kind of crazy thing that he talked about was obviously there's going to be questions about Liv, and now the big clip going around is sort of him saying that there's not going to be sort of any reconciliation while Greg Norman remains involved with Liv.
Greg's got to go. The shark.
Obviously, he also brought up the fact that like they're suing us, so I don't think we can really make amends while they literally have a lawsuit against us, which is fair.
Yeah.
But more and more we're hearing guys say that Norman is the one that has to like take a step, like just get out of the limelight. And I've heard like some other writers, golf writers, talk about how Norman was brought in to sort of be this public figure when this thing started, because he just has no conscience and he'll say anything, and he'll, go on whatever show and say anything just to make it look good. And that like truly credible people who would be good at the job didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like weren't willing to do that. So they were sort of just using him for this and to get this thing set up and going, and with the ultimate goal of bringing in someone else to actually like do the job, which I think makes sense when you really think about it. But also, I don't know how you sort of tell Greg. I mean, you're paying him an unbelievable amount of money, so maybe he just goes quietly into the night and doesn't say anything.
Well, remember, those Saudis are scary motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's very true also.
Maybe they pull Greg aside with, yo.
It's easier to keep somebody quiet when you have a machete to the back of their head. Yeah, maybe that's just what it is. They just say, okay, Greg, we told you this is what was going to happen. You take your money, we'll pay out your full contract. You take your money and you go back to your companies and you go back to Australia and you live your life, and you don't badmouth us. You don't talk any crap,
Yeah.
And we're all good.
So are the Live players saying that too? Like, is anybody on Live like?
No.
See, this is all why at this point. Why would Live want to? Why would Live want to negotiate with the PGA Tour? I mean, as long as those guys can still play in the majors.
So I think that's the thing. If they end up not winning their sort of OWGR status, and there is no way to play in the majors for these guys, and that would be the thing where they probably start to hear it from the players. And then again, this is all hypothetical. The OWGR thing is not sort of like, it's official in the fact that they don't meet the criteria to have their tournaments get OWGR points. But that could change, something could happen that makes them able to do that. But as of now, they won't be getting points.
Well, I mean, that's like, I mean, whose side is, it'll be interesting to see, when, what those negotiations will look like, and who is good, who would allow that, like what criteria do they have to meet to get world ranking points. Like, I can't imagine you can play 3-round golf tournaments.
It's the field size, it's the no cut, it's being 3 rounds. You have to, like, a part of the OWGR is having a feeder system for your tour. So some way of people gaining access to it outside of just being invited.
Yeah.
You have to allow for a certain number of like all these things. A lot of it is down to the field sizes, the no cut, and the fact that there's no sort of feeder system for the tour in general.
And like, I wonder who's behind the scene, like who's on that committee. You see the PGA Tour, it's Jay Monahan, it's Tiger, it's Rory, it's all these guys. Like, who's having those meetings on Live sides? Is it like Greg is end all be all.
No, I think that
Or
there's a group of people. I think Greg is just sort of the public figure of this thing.
just the face, because
Yeah.
like you said, he'll say and do
Right.
anything to
And I'm
make
sure
it
he's
sound.
I'm sure he's in those meetings just so he is aware of what's happening, but I don't think he's the one pulling all the strings.
Yeah.
I don't really know who that is, honestly, at the moment.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it was just obviously everyone got, keyed on that because Tiger kind of just plainly said that nothing's really going to ever come to pass as long as Norman's involved.
Right. But yeah,
taking
I
a
mean,
stand there.
as long as those guys get into majors, I don't think anything like those live players, they don't give a shit.
Well, yeah.
If they ever play another PGA Tour event again.
Right. So nothing else really interesting from the live side, at least with Tiger. They've announced, a couple other golf courses that they're going to.
Yeah. Who cares?
But who cares? Nobody's going to
Yeah.
watch and nobody cares.
Nope.
All right. So that really covered the press conference. And, not a ton happened, but some good little nuggets. Obviously good to see Tiger again. He's, popping up in a couple of videos of the stuff that they do for that whole tournament. So just cool to see him back. Obviously, if you listen to the podcast anytime before, you know that we are enormous Tiger fans. So anytime we get to talk about him, see him in some videos, it's always a good week when we get to see the cat. But
also won the PIP bonus.
That's right. Again,
play not the dude that's not on social media, doesn't do commercials, and
right.
has played 8 rounds of golf in the last 2 years. That's a $15 million bonus, by the way. If anybody's
and again,
if anybody's wondering, $15 million.
Yeah. And the PGA Tour still will never be able to get him to win enough of those to pay him back for all the money they've made off of Tiger Woods. So just keep giving it to him.
Correct.
They owe him.
Yeah. I don't think anybody would argue with that. He'd be like, "Yep, just give it to him."
Yep, just give it to him. Everyone else is fighting for second place. All right, so in the tradition of the podcast, we're going to run through the Hero World Challenge.
Oh boy.
List of participants, and we're gonna make some picks.
Place your bets, everybody.
That's right.
Here we go.
As we've recommended in the past, just don't pick who we tell you, and you'll probably win some money. But look, we're gonna try and turn that around. It starts right now. The season officially starts right now. So let's run through this list. It's not a long list, so it won't take very long. Tom Kim, Cameron Young, Sung Jae Im, Billy Horschel, Sam Burns, Kevin Kisner, Tommy Fleetwood, Matt Fitzpatrick, Corey Connors, Shane Lowry, Max Homa, Tony Finau, Seb Straka, Justin Thomas, John Rahm, Xander Schauffele, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa, and Victor Hovland. Let's just get into it. Who do you think wins this thing?
Tony Finau.
Damn, see? He's coming out. He's coming in hot. After winning, what did he win, like 3 in a row at the end of the season there?
Something like, I mean, against the JV squads, but I guess
good for Tony.
A win is a win, right?
That's right. I'm going to say Matty Fitz.
Whoa.
I'm going to say Matty Fitz.
Okay. All right.
Confidence, being a major champion now. He's not he's coming into this being like, I can beat these guys.
Sure.
I'm not afraid of this.
Yeah.
All right. Let's pick one more person each who we think has a shot.
So someone, you know what? I'm going to go wild, just kind of that Tom Kim, that dude can play.
Yeah. That's a great one. I just
guy
think
can
that
play.
he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
They said he was born a week after Tiger won like the 2002 US Open or something.
Oh, really?
He did that in one of the video clips, and Tiger just put his head down like, good Lord.
Yeah, I'll go Tom Kim. He's a ball striker, birdie machine.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Coming off the big President's Cup.
I'll do.
Good one. I'm going to go with my guy, Max Homa.
Mm-hmm.
Playing great.
Yep. I knew it. I knew it.
Starting to win a lot. Now he's like, this is his big boy moment.
This is it, huh?
Getting invited to Tiger's tournament. He just had a kid. He's like, he's ready to go.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So who's gonna play like shit?
Ooh, this is a good one. I mean, Billy Horschel will be terrible.
Hey, Billy Horschel is gonna win a U.S. Open.
Victor
I'm gonna pick him every U.S. Open until he wins one.
That's hilarious. Please do that. Victor Hovland won't play well.
I feel like Scotty Scheffler hasn't probably touched a club
Yeah.
in like 4 months.
Yeah. Like, again, this is going to be one of those things where, like, you just know that, like, Cam Young, Sung J M, Seb Straka, and, like, Shane Lowry are going to, like, round out the top 7 of this.
Yeah.
Like, again, like,
Yes.
Finau or somebody good is going to be at the top. But then, like, the rest of the top, 8 is going to be filled with guys like that.
Yeah. How do you think Justin Thomas does? I think he
I don't think he's
plays-
gonna win.
I think he plays like crap. He's gonna be hitting the ball all over the place. He's
Yeah,
not
I think
gonna make
Spieth will
putt.
probably be the same way.
Yeah, Spieth will he'll hit it in the ocean a couple times.
Yeah.
And he'll have 5 birdies in a row and then take like a 9.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Spieth.
It's gonna be interesting.
How do you think John Rahm does? As now he had another kid. I get it. That changes your perspective, changes your whole routine. But like that dude was on top of the world up through the Ryder Cup,
Yeah.
and then kind of hasn't played well since.
I think he'll be all right. I think he could probably be in the top 10 of this. I think like you, I don't think he probably hasn't touched a club in a while.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of birdies. I guess the course is going to run fast. They're going to dry it out because that's really the only defense.
Yeah, that and the wind, right? That and the wind.
The wind. These guys are going to be hitting 400-yard drives.
Yeah.
But it'll be dry. I guess the greens, they'll get those.
But it's like you said, it's just about who can score more birdies.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know. Anybody else stand out as a
I mean, Fleetwood won a month or two ago. Like finally found some form back after just being really terrible.
Yeah.
So maybe he comes in just with some confidence. I think Xander will play well. For some reason, I just have a feeling.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
So
man.
I mean, it's a beautiful golf course, luxurious resort.
Yep.
All you see in the background is palm trees and yachts.
Yep.
Just it's a different way of life, my friend.
That's right. But I mean, look, it's still 25 of the top guys in the world. We're going to see them hit a lot of shots. We're going to see them score a lot of birdies. This is when these sort of limited fields are fun because all these guys are so good that you don't really go to a stinker anytime, No. So, and it's all the guys we want to see hit golf shots out of, except for Rory.
I don't know why he's not there.
Oh yeah, I never really.
Yeah, he obviously was invited. I think he must just have something else.
Yeah.
Going on. I mean, he and Tiger are buddies. And,
there's no reason he wouldn't have been invited.
And how about Rory dropping a bomb like, "Oh yeah, Tiger and I had COVID during the British Open."
Yeah, right.
Tiger's like, "Oh no, I never tested positive."
Yeah, I never tested. I didn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Crazy.
So
Just
I guess
wild.
they had another meeting. Rory Skyped in or zoomed in.
Yeah, a report came out that they had another sort of players only meeting to talk about 2024, like how they want 2 years from now to go. Apparently nobody's talking about it again, just like the Delaware one, but eventually it came out. what happened there, but no one's talking about it at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just because the PGA Tour is taking their time with things. They're like,
Well,
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's cool, we'll do all that stuff, and then they do the PGA Tour thing and
it's
drag their
it's
feet.
it. Yeah, it's interesting too, and again, we'll never get a ton of information, but Tiger said what the tour had to take out a massive loan
Yeah,
to increase all this money and all these purses and keep the tour alive and
yeah,
what just interesting stuff. Like you'd love to hear the stories behind all that,
yeah.
but
So the
I
tour
don't.
came out and clarified that they didn't have to take out a loan; they just had to go into their reserves,
Yeah,
for obviously a lot more than they anticipated. So they're
right.
sort of their margin for error is that much less because of how much
Yeah,
they had to take out of reserves during the COVID years.
yeah, and I'm sure that's discussed in these meetings. Like Tiger, we need you to be
Yeah.
visible. Like we
Hmm.
need you to be like you're gonna drive this thing. Rory, we need you to start playing better.
Yeah.
Okay, we,
He's figuring it out a little bit.
he is, but like you think that has to be part of the conversation. Like, listen, yeah, we're gonna pump a shit ton of money into purses and this and that, but like Tiger, we need you around. Whether you're playing or not,
Yeah.
we need you there. Rory, we need you there. Um, so yeah, it was interesting to I mean it's quite the nice little nest egg to have on reserve
Yeah. 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 Well,
for for when you need
like
it.
I
And
said, keep feeding Tiger that pip because you'll never be able to pay him back.
yeah, and the kind of the forgotten tree shaker in all this is is Phil, who came out with his comments before this live thing really got rolling, saying, we're going to use this live thing is going to be leverage to the PGA, and ultimately it happened. But Phil, a guy that has been in your heart for the last 30 years is now seems to be irrelevant on the PGA tour and kind of irrelevant on the live tour. Like
Yeah.
he's just gone.
Yeah. Like I said, all these guys are just
Which
going to fade into nothing.
yeah, but Phil, the biggest personality. I
Yeah.
mean, he was the second best player for 20 years behind Tiger. Everything he did with charity and the fans
Hmm.
and he's just gone. Like
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, he's not the face of live. The PJ Tour has shunned him.
Hmm.
It's just you kind of feel bad for the guy. I don't know if he necessarily envisioned it being like this when he started running his mouth a little bit a couple years ago, but I was just thinking
Yeah.
about that. Just thinking about that the other day. Like Phil's, there's like I don't know. Phil's just gone.
I think it just comes down to like that thing of thinking you're the smartest guy in the room finally came back and bit him in the ass.
Yeah,
Like calling
yeah.
calling up a reporter and spilling your guts.
Off the record.
Right, cuz you like think you're smarter than everyone and have this are hatching this master plan. Like it bit you in the ass, man. And now this is
Yeah,
what happens.
yeah. I mean, he just the guy's probably he's like a 5 handicap right now. I think.
He might be. You might be taking his money soon.
Damn right.
All right. Well, good show, buddy. Thanks everyone out there for listening. Happy to be back talking about golf, talking about the cat. Uh, we'll see him here, hopefully 2 weeks. See him playing with his son Charlie. That'll be cool to watch that kid. Apparently, he's just running through like the amateur events, and
Yeah, as great as it's going to be to watch Tiger swing a club, I can't
I
wait to
know, right?
watch Charlie swing a
Yeah,
club. And you know what, Tiger, give him some airtime, bro.
yeah,
Like, stop putting him behind you during the interview. Like, let the boy talk.
yeah. That'll be fun. So obviously we hope Tiger gets better. We'll see him at the PNC, see him at the match. Enjoy watching the Hero World Challenge. Like we said, it'll be fun to just watch a lot of the top guys really score some low numbers and, pull off some pretty cool shots. So enjoy that over the weekend. We'll be back next week to talk about the PNC. We'll talk about how the Hero went, see if anything else pops up in the world of golf. But good to be back. Thanks everyone for sticking with us through the off season. But we're back, and the season has started, and we'll keep it rolling. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Swing hard, everyone.
Oh, it's not a cut. That's a slice.
Now this is a quack hook.
Oh,
Short
wow.
and into the right rough, headed to the trees.